This is Wednesday, November 22nd. So a couple of updates here to share, and let's get started. So this was discussed recently, and it's a strategy that I've been using, COVID forward, now that the airlines have actually, they don't charge change fees in a lot of cases. So let's take a couple of scenarios. The ultimate way to utilize this is if you have enough points. Let's say that you have Delta Sky miles available to book a trip, as long as you do not purchase the basic economy fare. Sorry, the dog. It's not fully refundable as far as fees and so forth, but you can always cancel and rebook that ticket. So the sweet spot usually to book airfare is usually about a month or two out from your departure dates, and you usually do it midweek. The weekends tend to have higher fares, but once you lock a flight in, or as I say, save the flight, you do have an opportunity many times to reprice it. But another angle to this, and you've got a link over at my Facebook page, my upgrade offer. You've got some discussion out on the frequent flyer boards. If you do this too often, would it raise red flags? So in all the years I've been doing this, the only thing close to that I'm aware of is maybe two or three other related stories here. So there have been some stories out there where folks were booking and canceling, let's say, a international business class ticket just to simply access the lounges. I could see that as a little more of an issue. It's technically, I guess, stealing if you book the ticket, use the service, but don't actually go through all the way. But I don't think that's what's going on here. These airlines, this is a public policy, and I have not seen anything specific out there that is either tracking, how much is out there, or how many people are doing this, or a specific limit. Let's say, for example, well, you booked, 5 tickets, the same 2 or 3 weeks and so forth. We're going to put you on a ban list. I have not seen anything that crazy. But it is a good idea to watch. The other practice here is booking multiple tickets on the same day. During COVID, or when COVID was getting better, I did a mileage status run up to Alaska, and I was only I think I went up to Anchorage. It's been a while. But I was only in Anchorage an hour or two. And I remember them actually coming on board and asking me, "Sir, are you really only going to be there for an hour?" And I said, "Yes." So, these things there are tracking mechanisms where they will sometimes question it, but, like, nope, I plan to do this, and it was a cheap fare, and here I am. And it was, okay, just want to make sure before we send you up there that that's really where you want to go. So, the other practice here of booking a ticket on one airline, and if there's a competing airline that you have points or something, just to compare the two, or even have a backup plan. This is going to come up for concern next week if there's any winter weather or other bad weather that delays. If you follow my episodes here, I'm giving JetBlue a try and status match that they offered. So, but I am, public info, I am keeping 2 reservations open, one with Delta, one with JetBlue. I have the points available, and I do intend to cancel, the one I do not use next week. So, these are all just strategies out there. Thankfully the policies allow for it, but it's still that weird gray area of, am I doing it too much? So just consider it there, and you've got a link over to a much more detailed discussion thread over at Flyer Talk on this. Next topic is, as we travel, and I've got some feedback to share about this holiday travel week that kind of interesting. But never forget the taxi line, especially when I fly into an airport and just need to, have, transportation from the airport, maybe to the hotel or to the cruise port. I usually just go straight for the taxi line. Now that we have Lyft and Uber, a lot of people forget that there is a taxi line there. And the other advantage, and a lot of people gripe about the price increases that they have seen with Lyft and Uber. Yes, they're there. I also see a lot of people, they're just standing out under some cover, staring at their phones, waiting on the ride to get there. You don't really have to do that with the classic taxi lines. The other advantage to these taxis is a lot of times local regulations have flat fares. So let's say here in Atlanta, you're leaving the Atlanta airport, there's a string of taxis out there ready to pick you up, no wait. And there's actually a sign right there at the taxi stand that says, if you're going from here to a Midtown hotel, this is your flat rate. Doesn't matter if, Uber and Lyft decide to do their 4-time surge pricing. That is a locked-in fare, that the city of Atlanta forces the taxis to do. So it could turn out cheaper, no wait, and you have it. So just consider that. I just wanted to point that out because a lot of people, they forget that, taxis still exist, and I'm sure that they would love the business. That's why they're still there, to do that. So just, don't forget that as an option. Also, speaking of the Atlanta airport, you might remember a month or two back, I don't know if I covered it here on this podcast, but there was a dog that got lost at the Atlanta airport, the huge Atlanta airport. And so it was interesting because there was a lot of confusion as to why this dog got lost at the airport, how the dog got on the plane, et cetera, et cetera. But it does appear that now that the dog came in from the Dominican Republic, and there's an article I'll link to it over at the Facebook page that the Dominican Republic is actually on embargo. They cannot actually put dogs on these planes. So someone, I think, clearly messed up. They let the lady aboard with the animal in the Dominican Republic. When she got here, she didn't have the right documentation. Something was going on, and then someone agreed to take the dog over. In the best of situations, it's just really, it goes back down to the airline. And I think in this case, Delta did the best they could in the bad situation, because you had a situation with a woman, that was flown here on Delta with the dog, and now they're stuck in customs. But I also want to point that back out to, it was not just the boarding agent. There should have been flight attendants on board that noticed this, that there's a lot of other things here that should have rose red flags before that dog even got on the plane here. And it's an unfortunate situation. However, they did find the dog. I believe someone, reunited it later. It was a really this awkward, odd story. But thankfully, the dog, was not killed. Another comment from a friend in the industry said, well, it's probably some hobo that's keeping it at one of the weekly hotels down by the airport. It does not appear that happened either. So I got the link over there. If you remember that story or want to chat more about it, comment here. We can go into more details. It's just a really interesting anomaly, as I'll call it there. The next topic is, and you've also got a link over at the Facebook page for this one too, international airline cards. So what was it the other day? I was looking at access policies for the airline lounges, and one that piqued my interest was some sort of Delta Diners Club credit card. But that particular credit card, I think, is only offered to residents of certain countries. So, while all this drama, those of you that are following the episodes and following the news of, Delta and all the airlines tapping down on what they allow, the airline, the credit card users to use. Airlines like Delta, there was one particular card out there, I don't remember which one it was, but it was targeted towards Japanese residents. And it actually gave them Sky Club access at the Japanese airport departure lounges in exchange for getting that credit card. So yeah, I mean, you have to remember that these airlines are international. They are part of consortiums with other airlines out there, and yeah, they've got this drama going on here in the U.S., but people in Japan, Europe, it's not scrolling across their news, so they don't know about it or fully understand it. They may have saw a comment about it, but it doesn't affect them. So you have to put yourself in other people's shoes sometimes to see what their perception of, or even if they've heard of some of these situations. So I thought that was interesting, and you can go out to the in this particular case, there's a page out at delta.com that talks about the international credit cards that are offered there. And maybe there's an international listener that you can actually benefit from that. So there you go. The more you know. There's also a couple of snippets and copy paste from what I've referred to in the past as shop talk, specifically about non-rev travel. I know that there are some industry folks that do watch or listen in. It was some very interesting comments recently out there about departing from Brazil or South America. And allegedly in some of these, or I think it was confirmed because several people said that they had experienced it, that you were not permitted to go through security and outgoing customs at some of these airports until you were standby, but to give you a ticket. And it was a mad rush. So you're literally standing there outside of security. You have a standby ticket. You suddenly see that you have a seat, and it's like amazing race time. You have to rush through security, rush through outgoing customs just to get to the flight and hope that you don't miss it there. That's a very different experience. Now, there was also a tinge of discussion that, because this comes from opinions of Delta employees, but there was opinions of others, for example, United. It was a more friendly experience, that maybe the seats were cleared with more time. So you had, maybe a 2-hour buffer instead of that 1-hour buffer with others. These are all internal airline policies. It probably does not affect you as a revenue travel, but I think it's interesting to look at the other side of the fence. And there was even some interesting discussion lately about weight and balance, so payload optimization. If any of those topics, glad to chat, about shop talk here. I currently, the only way that I would be able to non-rev would to ask a friend that has access to buddy passes, and the buddy passes, they can be an amazing experience, an amazing deal, but you've got to be flexible. So glad to talk more about the whole non-revenue travel world, if any of you want to there. Also a reminder about these credit cards, as I mentioned in the past, don't leave miles on the table. As a reminder to you, especially as you're doing this holiday shopping. Delta does it, JetBlue does it. You got both the dining and the shopping programs where you log into a website and make your purchases online. They are tracked and you get some extra miles. It doesn't matter what credit card or debit card you use there. So just don't leave those miles on the table, especially as you're doing more shopping between now and Christmas time. The next one here is where I've been, where I'm going. So as I mentioned, the Boston work trip is still a go next week. I do have some flights that are, one of them is going to not win. So just to be honest there, Delta, give me the first class upgrade and I'll fly on you. But if not, I have, the other option booked with JetBlue. So I'll end up canceling one of those tickets. And also the other thing I did recently, it was I'm reshopping the hotels. So I did have a reservation at using an employer rate, but it just ended up canceling that because it also had a 3-day cancellation period. And I'm actually finding some better, interesting offers from Hotwire. So if you've ever used Hotwire, I'm comfortable with it. You just have to know what you're getting into. I'll probably book that hotel as soon as I get on the plane or about to board the plane. Just because, that the deal with Hotwire and Priceline hotels, you are you're locked in. You can't change those. reservations. So stay tuned. I'll try to do a episode next week. Probably will not bug people from the plane. That's probably people will be looking at it like, shut up, guy. But these are one of the lounges, because even on the return, I am seeing several interesting lounge options at the Boston airport, depending on which one I choose to come back on there. Another thing that I did reconfirm, so the Delta ticket is actually booked on a round trip. In hindsight, I should have done 2 one-ways, because if you do not show or you have to cancel, you do not still have that return flight. Most of the airlines, if you've got a round trip booked, and this goes into a bunch of more stories about skip lags and other things like that. If you don't make that first flight, typically the airlines are going to cancel the whole ticket. You will not have the return, still available to you. So again, just it's all weighing into the decision, but it probably is going to boil down to next week if there's no weather issues and there's no upgrade. I'm probably flying on JetBlue next week. And then for Christmas, we're still going west to use that companion cert, Atlanta, Las Vegas round trip. That'll be on Delta, and the last time I checked, it is a 767-400, which is international configuration, and they're actually nicer, more or less domestic first class seats, and a good chance to actually go up front on that. There's a lot of seats open on that flight, so we'll see how that turns out. And then when we get there, staying in Vegas for a couple of nights, and then I'm going to pick up a one-way rental car from Vegas to Palm Springs. I'm going to drop it off in Palm Springs, the hotel that I did swap out recently, because the Courtyard, I guess it's the cooler time of year, they are going to close the hotel. But there could be some opportunities to go out and just have some time in the jacuzzi or something like that. So we ended up moving over to the Renaissance. I'll double check, but that, at least I guess the jacuzzi at the Renaissance will be open. Just didn't want to, bulk out all those miles, and if we wanted to use the pool, would not be available there. But then on that return on the Saturday, picking up another car in Palm Springs, both with Avis, and headed back over to Las Vegas. A recommendation, even a friend of mine when I traveled to the tournament, let's see, that was in Raleigh recently. Make sure that you go, whatever car rental company that you use, go ahead and give them a copy of your driver's license and get one of their frequent traveler, Avis calls it a wizard number, I believe. It is a huge time saver. I mean, the line at the Raleigh airport, when I was, riding with my friend, it was close to 30 minutes to 45 minutes, just standing there in a line, waiting to get the car. That's not a fun experience, and this doesn't cost you anything. You just go to the car rental companies, and the big names offer this. Budget has it, Avis has it, all of them. When you get to the rental car facility, they usually have your name on a board, and they have a space number. You just go directly to the car, put your bags in, and head towards the exit. That is a whole lot better experience and a huge time saver. So just again, a recommendation if you may be using a rental car, especially during the holiday time here. Because remember that families love them to death with their children, but they do not move fast. So if you're standing in the rental car line with a bunch of families in front of you, expect that to add probably 5 or 10 more minutes. Back to the more you know. All right, so San Antonio, January. Amex, computer saying no or whatever. I have not heard back on that travel case, but the trip is still likely to happen. It is one of those little quirks that I still won't be able to get resolved on that Amex Travel booking. But we're probably going to go out there on Delta both ways, and hopefully decent winnings, and from the bowling team, and we'll see how that goes. And then I was just talking to my dad earlier this morning. We still have that booking, but I did make a change. So there was a lower fare that opened up on an interior cabin. So I'm going to put dad and stepmom in the balcony, the nicer room, and I'm just going to take the cheaper interior room by myself. There's plenty of room in there just for me. And, I'm sure I'll be in their cabin some, to use the balcony, which will be plenty fine. So it did save some money, and it was considered about $200 or $300 difference. Using that, we're going to do a dinner the first night at the Tuscan Grill, which is a really nice experience, a lot of food, and very good service. And then also we'll probably do some beverage packages, and probably buy Wi-Fi for at least one device too. So that'll help compensate for the other. But looking forward to it, and any of you are welcome to join us. It's just a short 4-night cruise. This is March 21st, 4 nights. It's a Thursday to Monday on Celebrity Silhouette. Leaves out of Fort Lauderdale. So many flights available, and not expensive flights to get to Fort Lauderdale if you're not down there. But the invitation is open. Glad you can meet dad and stepmom and be a fun little weekend away. And still probably cooler weather. That cruise goes to the Bahamas and Key West, just a short 4-nighter, and getting out of the cold winter weather, especially for my coworkers and everybody north there. Still looking at options for the Ireland trip. Headed over to Ireland for the Georgia Tech FSU game in August of 2024. And it's looking like everything goes to plan in January, be able to book with JetBlue for that Mint upgrade. Got those 4 move-up certs to use there. But the other iffy thing is Air Canada, or to have the other discount certificate I'm still trying to use there. It looks like you would need to do a round trip for the best fare option. So still weighing the options, but still got another 2 months here before we end up locking those flights. Speaking of these travel deals, went out there and did a quick search. You can do a 4-night cruise, depending on when, for $219 plus taxes and up. That's not bad at all. If you're looking for a short getaway. Now, the peak times that are coming up around Christmas, New Year's, if you're traveling this week, they do bump those fares up because there's a higher demand for the holiday cruises. But in between, there's still plenty of travel deals. Also, if you don't want to do cruises, did find a 4-night with airfare. I believe this is on JetBlue, $699 and up, and that includes all your taxes. And in a lot of cases, that would be an all-inclusive resort. So you're talking about flights, food, booze, some entertainment. You go into a beach for several nights, $700 for 4 nights with airfare from Atlanta. You can't really beat that. So there's some other options in the middle of all these other Black Friday deals. Quick comment about the cruises. I did save some, as I mentioned, beverage packages earlier for the March Cruise with Celebrity. If it's not still going on, it was about a 45% off deal, which is a good bit cheaper there for those beverage packages once you get on board. Sorry, the dog is barking. Just remember on the upgrade fund. So this is technically a for-profit business, and I'm glad to help you with your travel reservations if I can. We also have the upgrade fund through Patreon, and scratch my back, scratch your back. We do have some Chase promos. Almost every credit card and account at Chase right now, there's some sort of hundreds of dollars promo that's tied to that. Investments, looking for a credit card offer, looking for maybe to move your checking account. Take advantage of that. It's free money. Why not? And it would help you, for your holiday travel. And maybe you'll, go on a trip with us if you want there. And then also they open up for feedback. So hopefully you're subscribing wherever you're seeing this feed. Always welcome to have that. But also look forward to your feedback. So you're always welcome to comment, on this, wherever you're seeing this. Try to monitor any comments that come through. But the one particular one here, I guess, kudos to at least the Atlanta airport. I am hearing, and also I guess I have a friend that was flying in from the Raleigh airport, that the airports are not that busy. People are not stuck in lines. They're getting through security well, knock on wood, that this is going to be a good travel week. Also with all this weather that, kind of came through, they were worried about the week, and someone said, the news has everyone hyped up about the travel, but they said this is the deadest I've ever seen the airport. And that's how it was yesterday, super stressed about traveling and how busy, and it was just easy to navigate the airport. Everything was fine. So I don't know, a combination of people just, they can cancel, they made other plans, maybe they're driving, they don't want to deal with the airports. I'm not sure, but kudos if everything is seeming to move more easily and so forth. So we'll button this up. I got to get a name for the episode. I'll pick one out here. Nothing is coming to mind immediately, but hope you have a great Thanksgiving. If you're going to be traveling, safe travels, seeing your families possibly, and be back in another week or two, another episode. Thanks.